Alright, so it's May 29, 2018, around 8:30 p.m. Starbucks. I realized that it's closed because they're doing national training, diversity training on racial issues from, I guess, those two young black guys that got detained and escorted out of Starbucks in handcuffs because they didn't buy anything at Starbucks, and I guess people got mad about it, and now Starbucks did a national train day. I guess, I don't know, I thought it was a couple hours, but I guess it's a day, I don't know. So, I mean, if it's a whole day, that's pretty relevant. But like somebody I saw on TV today was saying, this black lady was saying, it's just the beginning if they really wanted to like talk about certain issues. And I can't, when I make these videos, I can't like see myself as well. But like sometimes I'll have like funky hair growing in my nose or something. So yeah, I think sorry, messing up these videos. Whatever. So yeah, so I'm 40 years old still. Oh no, 41? I think I'm 41. My birthday's in February, so I'm getting old, so it's natural. Sometimes I'll have dandruff, sometimes I'll have... I'm not one of those dudes that like... gets haircuts and all that stuff all the time. Though I kind of have been. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about a few things, but one of the... Today, I'm actually living an artist life right now, so it's kind of weird. Like you guys, if you guys been watching these, been in Oroville for 4 months. Still pretty angry. Going through stuff, so I'm glad I gotta keep making these. For whatever reason, we're going in this crazy world where, and it's funny because when I first started these vlogs, like I started talking about technology and living over there, which wasn't really the point of making these vlogs, but I rewatched some of them a while ago, and that was interesting to me because I was like, dang, that's crazy. Like, it's relevant, but and then today it's really relevant so I just watched Westworld. I didn't watch them all. I just watched like one in the first each series because it was free on TV. So, but the thing about it was, if you guys watch it, it's really well done, and great actors and great plot. I guess there's a movie, I don't remember the movie, but what's crazy about it is that everything's already going that direction, where everybody's mind's on racial stuff, first of all, because there's like a lot of undertones of race, the West, living in the West, and the Native Americans, and the scalping people, and like all this stuff, like taking their brains and whatever, there's like some undertones of the cowboy stuff. So there's like the whole how the West was won kind of thing, and a thing where people pay money to go to the West, to relive their cowboy days, and then being protected, where the natives can't hurt them, and they're dumb, they're programmed, and they're not smart enough to fight back or to harm the people. And then I watched the end of the start of the second season, and they kind of just like gave an overview of the first season, and then they did an episode. But and there's a rebellion, you know, of robots. You know, so the robots are the synthetic humans are like, hey, we're our own people, and you know, they did all this fucked up shit to us, and now it's time for us to do fucked up shit to them. And then so the plot line's pretty much like the same plot line that they keep doing, you know, like you know, I've named it. It's called White Fear. But it's, you know, it's weird to be in this moment because it's like, so supposedly today too, Roseanne Barr, like what happened to Rose? So she said something about a black lady that was in office being a ape or something. You know, I'm glad for the effort. I'm glad for like people trying to come to terms with some issues, you know, like the media and the presidency and you know, Starbucks and stuff like this, you know, because the reality is that America and the world in general, but America specifically, is going through, you know, it's stuff that is happening. It's been happening. You know, there's been issues for the whole time, and you know, like in the I just watched this one where the Chinese, they don't want the Chinese in the early American days. They didn't want the Chinese. They weren't able to become citizens and stuff like that. And so it's kind of weird, but it's weird to me that, you know, it's a colony. You know, it's a colony that's grown in the United States of America and Canada and whatnot. And what that means is that it was built on somebody else's house, and there was civilizations here before the colony, the civilizations that came after the Europeans. You know, they came to colonize, you know, to build a new world here, and their own cities and towns, and pretty much take over, you know. So whether that was specific, which it seems like that's kind of their MO, what they try to do to a lot of places, or, you know, kind of what like Rome did, you know, kind of just, I guess a lot of kingdoms do that, but they, you know, it was weird because, you know, they went overseas and they pretty much, you know, like the kingdoms would pay to colonize the area, you know, to send settlers, and, you know, it was a system. It's a system. But the system always seems to break down. You know, America is one of the systems that's like that people view as success. So now it's a melting pot because not only did the Europeans come, like they brought African Americans, and then the Chinese people came, and, you know, everyone came. So the thing with that is that the native people that lived here, you know, the children of them are still here, like kind of like Hawaii. You know, they're still there, but, you know, and they're still not happy with everyone just having more than they have, pretty much being slaves to the colonizers, and you know, having no rights and whatnot, or having limited rights, or having, like, you know, not owning the land that their ancestors owned or lived on and were born in for hundreds and thousands of years, or whatever, however long they were here. So it's kind of getting evening, it's getting dark. I wanted to make a video blog about something else, but that just came to mind as I drove through Starbucks. And it's probably good because I did want to get into some serious stuff, and I'm probably going to do that when I get back to where I'm living, or to my mom's house or whatever. So, but, you know, this other stuff's on my mind too, you know, like, so the Westworld stuff and the whole computer stuff is on my mind. I've been listening to all the philosophies and all this stuff, and kind of what's going on in the world, what people are thinking, like as far as our government and our society in general. And I realized that I have a lot in common with the people that were like thinking of philosophies and psychology and stuff like that. And I realized like kind of what I've been doing and why I've been doing it. I haven't like went into it like that, but it's really has been my main focus in life, is trying to understand humanity. And now that I'm at this stage in life and this time and place in life where I've been forced to like kind of turtle up, where I have to like I don't know, just kind of just wait on civilization to kind of see where the action and reaction in the world is like so fast, and so it's like happening so fast and so prevalent in our everyday life that to go out and try to it's kind of dangerous for somebody that has goals and aspirations that don't fit. To come out with a new product in this world right now, it's a volatile time in America, where if I do talk about race and all this stuff, and not to mention like man and woman stuff, but that's kind of separate. But that is actually on my radar, and very like I'm thinking about it every day, as far not just man and woman, but just like sex in general, like sexuality, all this stuff that's going on, the stuff that's going on in my own life, and since I'm not married and all this stuff like that, and I've been dealing with this other issues like crime and law, all that stuff is like all mixed in, and I'm kind of making these video blogs to make my place in the world, so that when I speak, people will understand where I'm coming from. Because it was kind of the psychological issues, or I've been in a psychological kind of warfare, to say the least. And I'm not the only one. There's been a lot of creatives that have had this stuff happen to them before and now, and like whether it's government or Homeland Security or whatever, kind of making sure artists stay in line, and myself in general specifically, they went through my past and try to make all these things like issues without telling me, and so kind of fucking up my life for a few years, and then in a place where most of my family and friends are either got into some issues themselves or whatever, and then so I had to it's fucked up, man. Like I'm not lying about this shit. This is like some shit that's real. So I know some people are watching these, like they don't show views on my YouTube, but people are reacting to these videos, and good. Like we're in a time where humans need to fucking I know people in Silicon Valley know this, even though they're mostly white folks, probably. This is a generalization. Just say they're young, rich, and white, but the reality is the Bay Area is filled with a lot of folks like that, and to each their own. I'm not trying to be like Westworld and try to take all their shit. That's not the exact issue that I am trying to put forward in this world. So it's not really about going backwards in time. It's about really going forward in time and seeing what can be done to make it a better place for everyone. Really, that's always been my agenda. So now that I've been met with fear, and in Oroville and Butte County. So I'm kind of like in this place where it's a catch-22. Like no matter what I say or do is going to be a negative and a positive. So coming in terms with it, with the Tao, and understanding like life is that way, like whatever religion you believe in or life. And then it's weird too because, for me as an artist, like I want to say all this stuff. I'm pretty judgmental myself. Like I am judgmental to the society and to people around me, but at the same time, like it's never like I won't ask a question in a judgment. Like I'm not gonna hate somebody because they're gay or not. You know what I mean? Like that's not. But I will ask somebody, without a filter, to say, hey, because it is what it is. Whether that's part of my belief system or whatever, that's just something, that I, as a human being, and I won't, as a connection to another human being, if I'm gonna engage in conversation or whatever, that's part of how I talk to people or whatever. I mean, I'm not as bad as I used to be. I do. It's always with good intentions. So when I talk about sex or whatever's going on in society or my own life, people have their own judgments. So I realize now that people, with Facebook and everything, like you kind of see that everybody has like kind of rigid boundaries and point of views of those issues, like religion and politics and sex and everything, whatever it is. You never know. So now that our society in general has been reprimanded with seeing these issues, like they arrested 2 black folks and then they had to close down all the Starbucks, by choice, but that was what society wanted, or would take. They need that to avoid any like further repercussions from that racial incident, whether you believe that it was racial or not, or whatever side you're on as far as your political or racial point of view. It's the reality that we're living in at the moment. So as an artist, like and as a human, as an American citizen and a world citizen today, it's kind of like you're navigating through this kind of world where people you can have a career ended, and my career wasn't all like amazing, but it was pretty. I was good enough I should have been where I wanted to get to by now, if this other stuff hadn't taken precedence and taken over my life, really, because I was too busy practicing on how good I needed to be as an artist and as a man. Fuck that shit. So so I'm taking this time and issue. Like I was listening to this other guy, these other speakers, there's like these motivators, positive motivators or whatever, and they talk about like how to navigate in the world as a go-getter or whatever, positive thinking stuff. But at the same time, there's also these like kind of like modern day philosophers, like I forget his name, but Alice Hulse, something Hulse, but he's a brown dude. I don't know, I think he's African American, but he has like these blue eyes or whatever. So he's like works out dude. He's a workout dude, and pretty. My son showed me him when he was younger, but the guy, I think he's pretty intelligent and well spoken, and is talking about stuff that is pretty relevant in today's world and in the ancient world. You're bringing the ancient to the today world, which I think a lot of us are, and some people are scared about it, like the Westworld thing and the Silicon Valley thing. These people that are running the world, or that are at the forefront of media and technology and whatever. These are the people's viewpoints, these writers and these artists and these technology makers and these funders and So, which, I'm probably more, I fit more with that crowd than the business people crowd. But they're all mixed in. I'm just over here, little artist guy living in fucking Oroville. Uh, but at the same time, I'm in California in this world. My viewpoint in life is just as relevant as the president of the United States, because not because I can have as much power or whatever as them, but we're all here in the same world and the same time, and every dog has his day or whatever. Like pretty much like we're in a time where Elliot Holtz, that's his name, where the gatekeepers of media and whatnot, the doors are open right now. Like I can put this on YouTube and people will watch it instantly. So I haven't took advantage of it early days, but now that technology's catching up to the poor people, like I'm able to make, use this iPhone to do a lot of art stuff with. So I'm doing it. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so this fear, and when I say white folks or white people or whatever, I hope people understand, no matter what prejudices I have, like our viewpoints or whatever, if it comes off offensive, if I say black folks or brown folks or red folks or Indian folks or whatever, like there's no other name. I can say Caucasian every time, but I don't. So don't think that that's racial, a racial thing. What's fucked up about the situation too is like motherfuckers are like, I'll eat a cracker, and people think it's like me saying some kind of racist like thing about that. Like seriously, like a cracker, fucking come on, dude. Like I've been eating crackers since I was a kid. Like I like crackers. People like crackers. Why do you think they make them and shit? Like cookies. Like what the fuck does cookies mean? You know what I mean? So all these like metaphors that other people have are not my metaphors. So the world moves on without me. Don't include me in your metaphors, because they're not my metaphors. Because I have my own metaphors as an artist. What the ocean means to one person, it can mean something completely different. So anyway, so when I say white fear, it has to do with a true thing. This thing where white folks are, and in the current day, they're having issues with people of other races, calling them out on white privilege, having things that they don't have, and their society following with that. Kind of like, so the reality is not like, okay, there's just some crazy black people or brown people or whatever, Chinese people or whatever, that are able to like get mad about something, and then white people have to listen to them. What it is that there is a lot of people of different colors in the world. We all coexist. It's always been that way. There's always been like a lot of people of color everywhere, and they've always had riots, and they've always had like issues, and like if you're like South Africa, if you're like go to Africa and you're white, and you start colonizing, and then they don't like it, and then they start like attacking you. That shit happens because there's like a lot of black people and they're threatened by you. Okay, so that happens, just like if whatever place you go to, if you're different, people will react to you certain ways. It's a humanity thing, and white folks ain't used to it. And colors, like we're different than our forefathers or whatever. And some people want to go backwards in time and be like, hey, we used to be able to do all this crazy shit to people, to put people of color in their place, and they're wondering why they can't do that anymore, or they have to do it in different ways. And the difference is that families are intermingled, first of all. So like, and people, co-workers, you go to places where there's, like, so Silicon Valley supposedly like is a lot of white folks there, which is males, even, say males. I don't know personally because I haven't been there. Like, I haven't went and hung out with everyone and seen the scene, but that's kind of the overall perspective of that. And they're nerds and they're liberals, and so there's a lot of things of which I don't. Some of it's probably true because California liberal to what, compared to what. But they're dealing with the same issues as I am, or anybody, like if I go to Mexico, I'm gonna hella stand out, I kind of fit in, but really I'm gonna be hella different, and people are gonna act stupid with me. So same thing, especially if I was rich and I would start buying shit, like I could buy people, but it's not gonna be like, the main group of Mexican men are gonna be like, the hell is this guy moving in here for? Trying to take our women and all this stuff like that. So the same thing that happened over here in Oroville. I'm not, I was in at the time, it wasn't diverse, so I had issues in Butte County for that reason, not from my peers, not from people my age, but from the older community, and these people that were used to being able to hang people because they actually really did that shit, and so anyway, so what I'm thinking, with all this stuff that's happening right now in today's society, I'm making this video to kind of discuss that, because that's also part of my story. But I think as we move forward, like pretty much like the Westworld. Okay, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, so when I watch these things, I realize like what people are thinking and talking about, or wondering, or how they're dealing with their issues, because art is that, people deal with their issues through art. First of all, psychology, their mind, that's their emotions, things that they don't understand yet. It's a collective. It's also a collective, I believe, where it's just like a sound, like a rock and roll, it just happened. Like it was something that, and our hip hop, like it just became something, and it evolved by itself, really. Like, people helped it evolve, but really, like, it took the listeners to want it, and and generations, to the next generation to even continue it. And so that's art, and so that's kind of where I live and what I do. So when I watch something like Westworld or whatever, or all these movies, really, like even Han Solo and Star Wars and all this stuff, or Infinity War or Deadpool 2, or there's like things that are happening, and if they're popular and people want to watch them, and not to say that the masses are the ones that are in control of what the agendas are for mainstream, but they do speak with their money, and so, but things like the Westworld is, it's not just a one-time movie and the next movie is gonna be totally something different. This is like a series that's like, it's real art. It's more artistic than those other movies, in the way where it's a long conversation. It's like a book. It's a piece of art. It's a finer piece of art, because it speaks more upon. And I didn't watch them all. I just watched a couple episodes, so I can't. But there's been a lot of like the same kind of storylines, with robots and all this stuff. Like kind of what's on the people's mind, and that's kind of where I'm moving into as well as an artist. So I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just kind of like discuss. So this is like interesting to me. This is kind of, I'm just letting you guys know where my mindset is. Kind of what I'm going to be talking about on these blogs. these ones are drama vlogs, so really, like, I'm going to continue with what I wanted to talk about, but I came here to Starbucks to get a mocha and talk about it, but since it was closed, the sun's already was going down, so I'm surprised at the lights. There's actually enough light to talk. So first time making one at night or evening or whatever. So I'm gonna go back, work on my stuff. There's real life going on for myself. Like, I gotta go find, start bugging the community. I need to get work and all stuff like that. So it's around that time for me. But I'm going to continue making these blogs and discussing this stuff. So if you're along for the ride, cool. We'll see what happens. But really, the overall picture is important to me. So I'm going to also discuss that stuff too. So, like Roseanne Barr, I don't know. Like, shit. We live in this kind of crazy place, but I really feel the most important thing, the best thing we can do is as a group, as a nation, as a people, like, make a forum or something, or I don't know. I guess people are doing it, but I just haven't seen them all. But using art to discuss the issues of the day is very important, and I understand. And I'm glad white folks are doing it for themselves and making Westworld. But like, their fear that they have, maybe it's just what I'm seeing, but it's technology. It's definitely technology based because that's where they're moving to. But it's really like also the West. Like these metaphors of cowboys, and then what I saw was like these Native American people, being the aggressor or being the first rebellious, whatever they are. I don't know if they're robots or what. But and I've been seeing that, the white buffalo. They have the white buffalo at the beginning of the show. And with the white buffalo, this is what I was making. And the show came out in late 2016, so it's new. And it's crazy because, this is something that I could have wrote, or was part of what I'm working on, my stuff too, in my mind. It's on my mind as well. So it's crazy. It's just what do you call that? It's a head nod to what really, like, it's all the stuff that I've been working on. And, it's what do you call that? It's relevance to what I'm speaking on, that I'm not the only one thinking on all this stuff, but if it's coming from the place of fear. But it's, at least put it out. I'm glad that they put it out in the open so that these symbols or whatever are relevant to what's going on, And, I'm not going to deny that it's funny because, I'm not going to deny that white folks are very ahead of the curve and creating these technology, and not just technology, but like using machines to, like, for whatever agendas, but they're it's not just technology. I guess it's technology, but using machines to create the society, all these gadgets and stuff. But it's funny because, the Chinese and the Asians, like, the white folks are always like, oh, there's always an Asian that can do it 10 times better than you can or whatever. So for us brown folks and whatever, like, there's people that are gifted in all different societies at similar things, or different cultures. But it's funny because that there's just different strengths in different cultures, and like so the white buffalo thing is like storytelling, trying to find out what life is about, trying to, like religion and like there's other parts of culture other than building stuff. Like there's thoughts, thought systems, and the human, being a human on the earth, and love and all this stuff. So like just as important to being on earth as how you're gonna build your house. Everybody builds houses, but it's just how you build your house is the difference. So how you make your food or whatever. So building it bigger and better and faster is not always overall beneficial to civilization. So we're at this crossroads right now where that discussion is relevant. Even though we're going in this direction, it's kind of like the road's running out, and they're trying, society, white folks in general specifically, are trying to figure out what's next, because if you keep going, it doesn't compute with what's gonna, how we're gonna survive as a human species. Is there, whether that be overpopulation or whatever, or white population being like overtaken by all these other mongrels or whatever, which I don't agree with, obviously, because I'm a mix just like a lot of people, but I don't believe that that humans are going to control it. The more it's like at this place where the more you try to control it, the faster you're making it go. So I'm just adding my 2 cents in. I'm gonna go get a decaf somewhere, and I'll see you guys in a moment, making a blog about some other stuff later.